Having looked at the whole background, now let's put the plan. Let's put the plan. The plan is about what? The plan is about having three key things. We need to have emergency response plan, we need to have crisis management plan, and we need to have business continuity plan. Three key plans. Now, we know the situations that can happen. Now planning. Emergency response, as the name suggests, involves immediate response. What do we do when it happens? 5 minutes, 1 hour, so on. Okay? Crisis management can go beyond. After the emergency, then what next? Couple of days, including communication, delivering the message. And finally, how do we continue from that point on? Let me try to summarize each one of them. So, emergency response plan, okay, outlining immediate actions to be taken. You have put them down. If there's fire, immediate thing to do is this: people go out, right? We have called the emergency, we respond, we will put off the fire, okay? But there are other things to do after that, including why the fire happens and how to deal with it, okay? So the key objective, protect the people and the customers, employees who are there, who can suffer from the consequences, okay? Minimize injury, loss, all right? So it could be fire outbreaks, gas leaks, flooding. Now that you had evaluated the risk you have, you're saying, if it happens, this is the emergency plan, okay? So some elements, emergency contacts. I mentioned about the fire, the hospital, and so on, okay? Roles and responsibility, okay? Evacuation procedures, emergency. This is just an example because there can be many kinds of crises. Fire is just one of them. And it's good to have a simple template that describes that. You see, template talks about what? What's the immediate action? Switch off power and gas. Immediate action. What is the responsible person? Supervisor. What is the evacuation point? Open parking area. What is the emergency contact? What is the equipment? And as far as possible, make this clear to everybody, including displaying them, right? For ease of contact. You see, this emergency response, we are talking about a way of making sure if there's damage, it is minimized as much as possible. Very good. Now, we need to have a crisis management plan, okay? So, now that it has happened, okay, we have dealt with the emergency. How do we deal with the crisis that comes out of that? Crisis management, provide structured approach for making serious incidents that threaten the survival, reputation, and financial stability of our business. What action do we take of those? Okay? It is to maintain controls during crisis, ensure consistent, accurate communication. I cannot emphasize more about communication when we have crisis like that. How we deliver the message and getting to weigh the consequences of the delivery. How we do, sometimes it's not the message, but even the way it is delivered that matters, okay? There are times I would be teaching cases relating to, allow me a bit. Thank you. I have to manage my resilience, okay? Now, so one of the cases I've done before relating to taxation, somebody doing business in computer selling, many years ago, I met him. He was selling computers, and unfortunately, he was not very careful about his VAT, and he was caught up. And this time in particular, KRI people came, locked up his place, took all the computers they were, and they had blocked the bank accounts, everything. That time he was busy selling, by the way, out. He had just made an order. A big one, 3 million that time, right? Big order. Then he comes home very excited with himself because he has made an order. And guess what he finds? Workers outside waiting for him. Nobody has told him what has happened. He's just seeing a group of people who are his workers just standing somewhere out there and looking at him with many eyes. You know, at the time you realize, you thought people have got 2 eyes each, there are more. Okay? And then he realizes what the problem is. Why are they there? Because they cannot go home until you communicate to them something. By the way, it was Ed month. They were waiting for their salary. And they now know the bank is closed and you have no computers to sell and they have worked for you. So what do you do at that point? The message you pass, the communication, which must be a message of hope, by the way, because if you don't give the message of hope, the crisis can become worse because they can become a worse crisis than the KRA that you're dealing with. Well, of course, he called them for a meeting and convinced them that we have seen worse than this before, and we are going to sort it out. Just go home, peacefully come tomorrow, I have a solution for you, right? And by the way, when they came tomorrow, he had the solution for them. Oh, yes, he had. Okay, very good. So there can be many kinds. Communication is very important. Seeking quick recovery on the areas that are critical becomes important, okay? So key components, do you have a crisis management team? Right? It's very advisable, especially after COVID. Everybody advised to have a crisis management, people who come knowing it is us coming together to deal with the crisis. And of course, they have been prepared before through many ways. Decision-making authority, who does what? Internal, external communication, stakeholder engagement, right? Important people, media, and the customer communication, managing the media. There are many times you advise a lot, careful about the media because the message sometimes gets, reorganized a little bit through the media. And by the time it goes the other side, it becomes very difficult for you to manage. So you have to manage the message, okay? So very good. I'm giving examples here. So you can also have a template for crisis management, identifying what is the crisis leader, key decision, internal communication, external communication, and recovery actions. Putting them down. It is preparing for them. Hello, preparing for them. I should have mentioned this. I know because of our background sometimes, we are not accustomed to prepare for the worst. We're not accustomed to prepare for, bad things. It's like preparing for bad thing is inviting bad omen. You see, like my grandmother, I cannot take my grandmother through a class like this. No way, right? Because she would not want to talk about bad omen. It's like you're praying for the bad to happen. Now, in Europe, of course, it would be a problem if there was no plan of how to prepare for that kind of crisis. That's what we are doing. So prepare it. Good. So business continuity plan. After that, what's the continuity? Okay. Ensure that critical business functions continue to resume quickly during and after the disruption. How do we resume? Okay. Alternative action. Fire outbreak at the airport. Do you remember? All right. I remember I met the team, including one of the CEO involved then, and when the fire happened, and an airport like that is a national asset. It's not just Kenya Airways. It's a national asset. Sometimes a regional asset. It's dealing with the region. Okay. So, and I remember him saying, he had gone for leave that time. He'd gone for leave. Okay. And he jokingly told the people when he was leaving, "Don't call me unless there's a fire." Oh, yes, don't call me unless there's a fire. And they called him, and the fire had happened. And he comes, this time it's not just the employees he's dealing with. He comes to deal with the fire. And before he has spoken, even to organize himself, the president was there. Hello? Yes. And the question was, how long is it going to take you to get back to the functions, operation? And they quickly look at each other. They said, we'll take like 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks. You know how people do? Yeah, 2 weeks. The president looked at him straight in the eye. I give you 3 days. Yes, 3 days. And by the way, in 3 days, they were back in operation. Sometimes you work at best in a crisis, isn't it? Yes. Okay. So very important looking at what is critical and how do we get back. Okay, how we get back. We also learned something from there. Maintain essential operations, reduce downtime, okay, protect your revenues and the critical assets as well. It can be very many things, sales, customer service, okay, alternative service that you use, production, delivery, supply, and so on. By the way, including getting to know who can do some things for you, even your competition. Sometimes they can become a friend, not necessarily an enemy. Even a competition at that time. They can save you. Okay, very good. So, key components of these, identifying what is critical, business impact, alternative work arrangements, backup, and so on. Again, you can have a template of something like that. Critical function could be sales. Maximum acceptable downtime is 1 day. Backup method is manual receipts, mobile money, whatever it is. Responsible person, shop money. You see clarity when you put these kind of templates and you have put the kind of plan. My good friends,